This is a test 1-2-1-2. I am recording from a new space, and I will talk about that more after the show. But I'm finally back with an intro and outro, the intro music and everything. It took me over a month to get better, but I'm finally getting there. Oh my God. Let's get to the story first. Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic Podcast. This is Worth the Risk, Part 30, Zombie. Natalie took one last look at her phone before stepping through the door. Raven had not replied to her messages. Natalie would not send any more. She knew when she wasn't wanted. Tears filled her eyes again. Natalie clenched her jaw and sniffed. She didn't want to sit behind her desk with red eyes and wet cheeks. She had been crying for most of the morning, and enough was enough. "Good morning," she mumbled as she entered the open office space. Only 2 other people had arrived. The developers barely looked up as they returned her greeting. Natalie dropped her bag by her desk and plopped down in the chair. She checked the time on her phone. She hoped she would have at least another 15 minutes before Bart arrived. She still hadn't decided what she would do. Come clean to Bart as soon as he arrived and tell him that she and Raven had been seeing each other? Or pretend she had no idea what was going on when Raven didn't show up at the office? Natalie assumed Raven would stay away. There was no way she would continue this charade after their fallout this morning. The only question was if Raven would let Bart know what had happened or not. This left Natalie in a difficult position. Part of her wanted to act surprised when Raven didn't show, but she knew it would be draining to keep lying to Bart like that. She wasn't sure if she could muster the energy. It looked like coming clean was the wiser course of action. At least everything would be over and done with. Maybe Bart would give her a few months to find a new job. It seemed like the most Natalie could ask for at this point. She placed her phone on the desk and pushed the computer's power button. Natalie knew she would probably not get any work done, but she could pretend to be productive. Natalie was entering her login credentials when she heard Bart's voice in the hallway. "Fuck," she cursed under her breath. Her boss said loudly, walking past her desk. Natalie's throat was tight as she replied. There was little enthusiasm in her voice, even though she tried to sound normal. Her hands were shaking. She grabbed the computer mouse more tightly. "Stud all's klar?" Bart asked as he unlocked his door. A cold chill ran down Natalie's spine. She had forgotten to prepare the meeting room for Bart's meeting with Raven. She hadn't thought of it since there had been no point. But Bart didn't know that yet. "Benna," she lied and got up. She told him she still needed to pick up the pastries from the bakery store around the corner. He told her to hurry, and Natalie nodded as she grabbed her coat. She hadn't placed an order, but she could buy whatever was available. As soon as she stepped outside, she knew she wouldn't go back in. Natalie walked in the direction of the bakery store, but then went straight past it. She crossed the bridge over the canal and kept walking. She had reached the library by the time her phone buzzed. Natalie ignored it at first. It kept vibrating nonstop, though, and she decided to switch it off. She pulled it from her pocket and saw that all the messages and missed calls were from Bart. The top message said, "What the fuck?" Sweat prickled on her forehead as she scrolled to the bottom of the texts and read what Bart had sent her. Raven had called Bart. She had told him that the deal was off and that she was leaving the country because of a family emergency. Natalie stopped walking. She stared at the small screen in her hand, her heart racing. Raven was leaving the country? Had she changed her flight again? Natalie couldn't believe it. She looked up at the sky and gasped for air. Her phone vibrated because Bart was calling again. She rejected the call but didn't switch off her phone. What if Raven tried to call her or text her? Or would she really fly back to the States without another word? Natalie couldn't believe it. She wanted to sit down, but it was hard to get her legs to move. There were no tears in her eyes. She was too shocked. After a few moments, as she processed this new information, she got angry. If this was how Raven dealt with conflict, there had never been a future for them, she thought. Raven clearly wasn't the person Natalie had thought she was. She slipped the vibrating phone back into her pocket. Natalie bit on the inside of her cheek and then turned around. She had had no idea where she was going before, but now she knew exactly where she needed to go. It would only take her 10 minutes to get there. Nat? Kim said, shutting the door of the university building behind her. She was still in her white lab coat. Natalie pushed herself up from the low wall she had been waiting on. I just need a hug, she blurted out. Oh, honey, her best friend said and wrapped her arms around Natalie. Natalie shivered as Kim held her, even though it wasn't cold at all. She wanted to tell Kim what was going on, but she couldn't bring herself to speak. Kim stroked up and down her back slowly. Are you sick? Kim asked quietly. She sounded worried. No, Natalie said, her throat so tight it hurt. Natalie's phone vibrated. Is it Raven? Kim asked after another long moment passed. She leaned back and tried to meet Natalie's eyes. Natalie looked to the side. Yeah, she's gone. Kim tucked some of Natalie's hair behind her ear. She's gone? Natalie nodded. Gone. Fuck. Kim sighed. She grabbed Natalie's hand and pulled her back to the low wall. What happened? She asked after they both sat down. Natalie shrugged. She got upset because I made some assumptions about her. Kim nodded slowly. Sounds like I am missing part of the story. I'm sorry, Natalie said. Everything was such a mess and it was hard to keep sharing. Her phone vibrated in her pocket again. She rolled her eyes and pulled it out. Bart was calling her again. Natalie rejected the call and placed the phone face down on the wall. Was that her? Kim asked gently. No, it's Bart, Natalie sighed. Raven called him to tell him that the deal is off. He's probably on his way to her hotel now. What do you mean? Kim asked, tilting her head. She hasn't left yet? I thought you said she's gone. Natalie shrugged again. I have no idea. Kim was quiet for a few seconds. Nat, she finally said. You're acting weird. Weird? Natalie asked, kicking at a small piece of concrete at her feet. Yes, weird. Detached, Kim said, covering Natalie's lower arm with her hand. Like a zombie. I've never seen you like this. Natalie huffed. A zombie? Seriously? That's what you're going to focus on? Kim asked, widening her eyes. Natalie held her gaze, feeling the anger build again. Why was Kim giving her a hard time when all she had wanted was a hug from her best friend? For a second, she debated getting up and leaving. Nat, Kim said firmly. It's me. She wrapped her arm around Natalie and pulled her close. Right, Natalie sighed, suddenly deflated. She rested her head on Kim's shoulder and took in a couple of deep breaths. This woman really got under your skin, didn't she? Kim said. She did, Natalie admitted. I think I fell in love with her the moment I first saw her. So why aren't you on your way to the hotel or the airport? Kim asked. This isn't some romantic movie, Natalie snorted. Kim rubbed Natalie's neck. It sounded like one at first. Are you sure you want to let her go? Natalie stared at the ugly wall of the place Kim worked in. It was one of those buildings from the 80s that should be torn down and rebuilt. She studied the moss at the foot of the wall as she thought. I think it's better if I let her go, she then said, barely audible. Kim had heard her anyway. Why is that? What future is there for us? Natalie asked, shaking her head. We live so far apart. Plus, I made everything so messy. The foundation is rotten already. How did you make everything messy? Kim asked. Because I asked her to lie to save my job, Natalie explained. She kicked at another piece of concrete. It sounds to me like Bart created this mess with Raven, Kim said, squeezing Natalie's upper arm. Not you. Natalie pursed her lips. I guess, but I made it worse. I should have just quit my job as soon as I found out what Bart was up to. You're being very hard on yourself, Kim said, her tone gentle. Am I? Natalie asked. She ran a hand through her hair. I don't think I am. I think I need to face some things that I've been avoiding. Like what? Kim probed. Why I put up with Bart for so long, Natalie sighed. Why I held on to this job just to prove a point to my parents. And why I still care so much about what my parents think. Kim chuckled. Everyone cares about what their parents think. She added, and you've stood up to them plenty of times. Smiling sadly, Natalie said, yeah, but it costs me so much energy, Kim. It feels like a huge battle every single time. I feel guilty every time. Yeah, Kim said and sighed. She rested her head against Natalie's. I do see that. I think maybe I need to take some time to sort myself out, Natalie said, feeling a little bit lighter as soon as she said it. Sounds like a good plan, Kim nodded. It's a shame I didn't figure this out earlier, Natalie thought out loud. Maybe things would have been different with Raven. Maybe. Or maybe you needed this to happen before you could figure it all out, Kim said. Maybe, Natalie replied. She straightened and looked at her best friend. You're going to be okay, honey, Kim said. Natalie smiled sadly. How can I not be with a best friend like you? Kim smiled back. You make an excellent point. I'm going to let you get back to work and go home, Natalie said, rubbing her chest. No, Kim said. You are coming inside with me. You can be my assistant for the day. Really? Natalie said, instantly relieved. She was in no mood to be alone, but hadn't wanted to burden Kim any further. Yes, Kim said and pointed at the device on the wall. It had just stopped after vibrating again. But switch off that phone. It can make stuff blow up, you know? Sure, Natalie chuckled. Like you always switch off yours. She picked up the phone and pressed the power button without checking any of the missed calls and messages. The screen turned black and Natalie let out a sigh of relief. Come on, zombie. Let's get you a white coat, Kim joked. This was part 30 of Worth the Risk. I have not talked about this in full, but a lot has changed in my life. I think the most important thing, and many of you already know this if you're active on the community, but the most important update is that Muriel and I decided to separate, to divorce. We're doing this with all the love and friendship. We are convinced it's better for both of us, and we still get along great. So it's not a dramatic update, it's just a lot of change. So I still needed to share that. I moved out, or I'm in the process of moving out, and I've already moved my studio. So that's why you probably can hear the difference in this intro and outro. The episode was recorded in the old studio and this is in the new studio. I still need to do some sound treatment with the room and stuff. I will try to get the sound quality back to normal as soon as possible. But yeah, I don't want to keep you waiting for episodes, so I'm just going to work with what I have. I hope my voice is also finally getting back to normal, more or less. I had a rough couple of weeks, to be honest. I had a really bad cough, and that cough caused an old injury to my intercostals. Those are the small muscles between your ribs to act up again. And wow, at one point, I actually fainted from the pain. It was that bad. So I'm happy that's getting better slowly, but I still have to take it easy. No workouts, no lifting anything, but at least I can get back to work. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, I'm behind on thanking these wonderful, wonderful listeners around the world who support my work. You've been there for me these last weeks. Many of you have sent me messages and wow, that felt so good. Thank you. And thank you for your support. Next episode, I'm going to do the full personal thank you. I just wanted to give this update to everyone first. So yeah, as always, you can come and hang out with me on the community on the website. I know I haven't been as active lately because I had so much going on and it wasn't always easy to share, or I couldn't share yet. I'm gonna be there more often now. Same thing for Keybase. I'm really trying to get things back to normal after all the changes. Thank you for spending time with me again, and I will see you soon in the next episode. Bye.